Good afternoon to you. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. If you've joined me live, my name is Jenny McCormack. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and I'm based in the market town of Brackley in the UK. All week I've been using the stamp set called So Much Love. This one here, as you can see. Hello Molly, thanks for joining me. And this is the last, or certainly for this week anyway, of using this stamp set. So it's a very pretty stamp set. As you can see, it's got two similar images, one larger, one smaller, with this rose image and some buds. It's got 3 sentiments and some useful little dots. These were the cards that I've made earlier in the week, so I'm just going to flip through those really quickly. If you've joined me in the week, you will have seen these already. So on Tuesday we did some colouring with our blends pens. On Wednesday I did some stamping in Night of Navy on vanilla, and then using white embossing powder stamped white on navy. So navy on vanilla, white on navy. And then yesterday I stepped it up by using these gold laser cut pieces from the Forever Gold set. I stamped this and cut it out, just fussy cutting with a pair of scissors, and layered that up, and then I used the thanks message, which is also gold embossed. And then the envelope for any of the vanilla ones I've decorated on the front, and also excuse me, that fits perfectly on the back as well. So today I thought we'd visit a different technique. Hi Jeanette. And that is some watercolouring. So I'm using the large stamp, and I've got 2 different kinds of paper that I'm going to use. One is watercolour paper, so this is just part of a sheet. I've cut this one down, and the other is our Shimmery White card. Now you won't be able to see much of a shimmer in there, but it's got a very light shimmer to it, sort of little spot. Well, you might just see it now, I'm not sure with the light. So I thought I'd show you on 2 different types so you could see the difference. It's best not to use watercolour techniques on our standard card, so you really do need specialised watercolour card. It's readily available, obviously we sell it. So this is the watercolour card, which has got like a texture to it, and then the Shimmer White, and it's special card in that it absorbs the water, and if you did it on plain card, the actual card itself would warp. I'm just going to cut this piece down to make it a little bit smaller, and then I'll do a design on each one, and you'll see the different effects you get really with the 2 different pieces of card. So I think I'll cut this one down to fit on a full-size card. So I should have done that beforehand, shouldn't I? And I'm going to use our ink refills today, but you could also use the ink from an ink pouch. I'll show you how to do that as well if you haven't got any refills. And these need to be water-based inks, okay, not alcohol inks or alcohol pens. So here's our 2 pieces of card, and you can see the difference as well. It's just very slightly off-white in both cases. And what I'm going to do, just wipe that from yesterday's stamping, I've just spotted that. So what I'm going to do is use some Versamark ink and some white embossing powder to ink up the stamp and emboss it in white so that we get a white outline to our card. Obviously you could also emboss in gold or silver or another embossing colour of your choice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp one on here, and I might do a couple on the other one. So I have my Versamark ink pad at the ready and the large stamp. So I'm just going to ink this up. Now obviously this is a clear ink. I know the pad looks really rough, but it's just got contaminated over time. But the nice thing is you can buy a Versamark refill and just refill it, so you don't need to get a new one. This has also been burnt by a heat gun at some point, so goodness knows how old this one is. Okay, so for this one here, what I am going to do is use our embossing body. Okay, use it on my fingers as well. It's not quite as critical when you're using white on white, because you won't actually see really many stray pieces of white. But I think if you get into the habit of doing it regardless, then it does help in the long run. So that's an embossing body. So just going to move this one out of the way for the minute. So I'm just going to work on this one and just re-ink that again. I'm hoping you can see that clearly today. So I'm going to pop this one here at an angle so I can stamp a sentiment up on the top right hand side, like so. Now I appreciate you can't see that at all. You will see it, however, when I apply some of the powder. Let me bring this in. Okay, so I'm just going to tip this powder over, and then you'll see it attach itself to the stamped image. I'm just going to tap that off. So hopefully you can see that in the light. Like so. I am going to flip it over and tap it, and I'm holding it by this left hand side or right hand side, depending how you look at it, because I know my image is over here. Okay, so before I do anything else, I'm going to heat set that. It's always best to do that straight away in my mind, because otherwise it's quite easy to put something on top or just brush it, and you brush off some of the embossing powder. And you can top it up, but it's not the same as having a full layer of the same. So I'm just heating my heat gun up. So I hope everybody's managed a little bit of crafting this week, or has some plan for the weekend. So I'm just going to heat this up. And for you, it will go almost invisible, because the powder is being melted onto the card. Glancing at that to make sure it's all embossed. Hopefully it is. There we go. So I'm just looking at it to make sure it's all nice and shiny. So that's the image we're going to colour in. While I'm here, I am going to stamp the other one ready, and then I can do all the watercolouring together. And for this one, I will probably stamp off the edge. So I'm just inking that up. and this one's going to be an all over design, like so. So I can just see the edge of that, and I appreciate you probably can't in this light. Let's have one up here. And then one or two at the top. So I can see where that is. I'm going to turn this round. I'm not worried too much about the fact I'm stamping off the edge. I'm just going to wipe my surface down. But you could put a piece of grid paper or scrap paper underneath. Let's have that bit there. Like so. Okay, let me put that stamp out of the way and put that through the embossing powder. Now this has got contaminated. I can see bits of dimensionals and things in there, so what I do need to do at some point is probably replace this powder, because as you can see there's bits of things attached. So just turning it really carefully. You could use tweezers with it if you preferred. Okay, looks like I've got the main bits. It really does show that up at this point. But let me just turn that over, and just flicking it from the back to remove any loose pieces. Like so. So you can see quite clearly there's a little bit of extra powder there. If I can find my paintbrush from yesterday, which I know is not far away. Here it is. Just going to get rid of that little bit there. As I say, once it's heated up and coloured in, it won't be obvious. I could add a few bits on here, but I may well cut this piece down, so I'm happy with it as it is. Oh, hi Babsy. Nice to see you. Thanks for popping on. Okay, so I'm going to heat set this. Let's cover this up. Like so. And again, I'm going to warm the heat gun up before it gets to the card. Like so. And as I say, it will disappear for you. As it melts. It makes it quite easy to see where you've been though. So I just work my way around. Okay, not doing too much waving. Now I'm working on a floor tile here. Don't do this on your best French polished surface, will you? It won't take too kindly to the heat gun. There we go. Let me just have a quick look. Looks like that's all done. Okay, Okay, let's start with this one here. So this is the watercolour paper, and I've got a block to use as a palette, and what have I got? Melon Mambo I've chosen, and then I've got Old Olive. So you could use an ink pad at this point. This is Magenta Madness, but just to show you. So what you could do, if you don't have the re-inkers, is just collect a little bit of ink on your block, and then if you need to top it up you can. I'm going to use Melon Mambo, so I've got the refill, so this is more concentrated, so you'll get a deeper colour. So I'm just going to do literally a drop, hopefully you can see that, and a drop of Old Olive for my leaves. And then what I'm going to do is add water in the centre, because the trick with watercolouring is to get your surface nice and wet. So this is one of our water painters. I filled it with tap water in the barrel there, and you can see it says push on the barrel. So what I'm going to do is literally squeeze that so that the water comes out, because you want to see it nice and wet. Okay, like so. And then what I'm going to do is take that and wet the leaves. Now I did use a pink in this last, so there is a tiny hint of pink, which is quite handy because you can see where I've added the water. But can you see how quickly that's drying? Okay, so if you're using watercolour paper, you need to get it nice and wet. So you want to be able to see a ridge of water on there, like that. Then I'm going to add some water to the pink, and then just add it in. Okay, so you can just tap it into each of the leaves, or you can draw across the whole area, like so, literally. Bit of my scribble painting going on here. Okay, and then if you want to add in some more colour, you can just go back in and pick that up, like so. So the secret is to really get this nice, and wet. So what I tend to do is take a little bit of the colour and paint it all the way over to get it nice and wet. And you will need to keep squeezing the barrel or having plenty on your piece here. Let me move this out of the way. I don't want to spray it particularly. So you can just make it nice and wet, and then go back in and add some more detail. So the white lines are now showing up. When I go over the line, you'll see the white line there, like so. And as I say, if you want a bit more colour added in, just go back in and spread it around. Now if you want a really good watercolour effect, the best way to do it is one petal at a time. So wet one petal, add the colour in, then go on to the next one, because that way you'll get the sort of depth of colour, and it'll be wet on each one. But that gives a really nice effect. Just straight watercolouring, sort of, I call it a cheats watercolour really. So I'm just going to do these berries here, There's one there, one there, one there, and one here, like so. If it's too wet like this, just use a tissue or something to mop it up, she says. I don't have a tissue to hand. I do, however, have a tea towel. Which is slightly bizarre, isn't it? But there we go. Just going to pick that up with the tea towel. There we go. So have a tissue or a piece of kitchen roll, or even better, a piece of muslin or something. So those are the pink elements, the floral elements. I'm going to do the same with the green. So just going to get rid of some of this pink. Just add in a little bit of green. So you can see that it's it's nice and wet. Almost too wet, Jenny. There we go. So if it's too wet, just dry it up and then go back in. So just literally painting over the leaves. And the nice thing is the white embossing brings out the detail of the leaves. This one here, oh, I can see a bud there as well. Okay, so just working round. And obviously you can mix your colours as well, so if you want different greens, you can mix those up. And if you want to go back in with a darker bit of green for the centre, then you can just drop that back in like so, so you get that 3D effect. As I say, you want it sort of wet to start with, but if you've got a small area, you don't want it too wet. So it's really bringing out the detail of the embossing. Like so. Now I've got a bit of leaf here and a bit of bud, and then got the tiniest bit of stalk up to these buds. So in the set we do have a finer water painter. So what I would do is switch out to the very fine one for the stalks. Okay, so this is the medium one, and we have a wide brush as well. Okay, so I'm just going back in and adding a little bit of darker detail for those leaves. So a very different look to this one. Oh, not that one. To this one here. I know it's on, this is on white. Okay, but quite a different look. It's also a different flower. Okay, let's do this little bit of stalk in here. Like so. And then I need to do a little bit of pink in there. So let me wipe that down. And you can flush the brush through just by squeezing the barrel. Let's pick up a little bit of the pink. Because this is the washable surface, I could actually use this. I tend not to, because otherwise I know what I'll do is I'll put my arm in it and then put it on there. But I could easily use this, as long as you've got a non-porous surface. So here is the pink above down there, like so. So quite a different look. As I say, you can go back in and add more detail if you wish. If you want to make it lighter, just dampen it and then use a dry cloth to lift some of the colour out. So there we go. That is our first one. Thank you, Babsy. Okay, so here is our second one, and I think I'm going to change colours just so you've got something different to look at. You don't need to look at the same thing. Oh, it's a good noise, isn't it? Let me see what I've got to hand. I've got Mango Melody, so that really deep orangey colour. So let's do that. And literally 1 drop, maybe 2 drops if you're doing a large area, is all you'll need. So let me just wet this first. So there's still a little bit of pink in there. Not that I'm too worried, because this could be pinky peachy anyway. So plenty of water. Hope you can see that on my thing there. And I'm just adding a little bit of water to that. And then I'm just going to go straight over this one. So using a really light wash, and then you can wet it and go in with more detail. You could use a paintbrush and a jug of water. Absolutely, just make sure you don't knock the water over and you don't get it overly wet. That's the nice thing about the water brushes, is that they it just lets the water come through at a certain amount. Okay, so here's this one. Now this is my kind of watercolouring, straight over, like so. And I'm just using the edge of the brush to go around those petals. You can leave some edges light as well, give it a nice watercolour effect. This one, just that one, and then this one here. This is one of my favourite colours. I do love yellow, and Mango Melody is a nice deep orangey yellow. This would be nice with peaches as well, wouldn't it? Peach colours. There's that one there. And then finally I've got this one up here. See the depth of that colour from the refill. So if you're using the ink pads, you would get the same effect, but you would need quite a bit more ink, because the refill is pure ink, whereas when it's in the ink pad it's got a sort of medium with it. So now I can go back in and add bit more detail in the centres. Okay, I can do some shading from the middles out, like so, where those petals would be. So really you can just be as detailed as you want, or you can just, you know, sort of go straight in. Like so. Let's take a little bit of this, add a little bit of this into here. So don't leave your other items up there, because what happens is you sprinkle it with extra watercolour. Okay, so as much detail as you want, like so. Hi Brenda, thanks for joining us, and Sarah. Oh, excellent, Babsy, have fun. Jane, nice of you to join us too. So I'm just going to colour those buds in, like so. There's 5 on each one if I've stamped the whole thing. Is that one? One, two. I don't think there's any more on that one. Like so. A little edge of one, and the rest are all leaves and stalks. So let me grab, I might try a different green so I can see one to hand. Let's see if I've got a pear pizzazz. I usually have. It'll be everything but, there we are, pear pizzazz. Just get another block for that one. Not even a full drop. Okay, you can see how that's picked up some of the yellow, can't you? Just going to take that little bit off. I don't mind it a little bit yellowy green. And then just going to brush this over. So Pear Pizzazz is a lighter version of Old Olive. So it's just a bit softer, like so. So this is on the Shimmer White card, so you can see it's still taking the water really well. I will do a little bit on a plain card and you'll see the difference. There we go. There's one in here. I need a little bit more pear. Ooh. Yeah, maybe not quite as much as that. Okay. So say just wetting those, then I can go back in with a bit more detail. So and then just using the tip in that little stalk, so you can see you can be quite accurate if you turn the tip on its side. Okay, last few coming up. So it's quite therapeutic doing watercolouring, especially if you've got a larger area to work on. Also, if you've got tiny little images, it's a bit more, you've got to be a little bit more careful, whereas here with these shapes you can just sort of start in the centre and bring it out, making sure I don't put my hand in any ink and transfer it across, which I'm very good at doing. While I'm here, let's do this one. There we go. Right. There's always one you miss, isn't there? Does that happen to anybody else, or was it just me? Put it there. Let's add a little bit of depth to these here. Make them look a little bit more interesting. Just adding some little bit of deeper ink, like so. So I wonder who's watching that likes watercolouring. Hi Louise, hi Baz. Anybody a fan of watercolouring? I have to say I did a lot of watercolouring until we had our blends pens. But this is relatively quick. You know, you can cover a bigger area, I should say, especially with the large brush. You know, you could switch that all the way over. There we go. Now I'm just going to tilt the brush on its side and do these little stalks here. There we are. I hope I'm not in your way. There we go. Okay, I'm going to wipe. Actually, I'm just going to show you on a piece of. Don't do it often enough. Oh, hi Heather. Thanks for joining us. So this is some of our standard vanilla. Actually, it's thick vanilla card. But I just want to show you. It may or may not work because I've got nothing. I haven't stamped anything, but if I just watercolour an area here, can you see how that's just literally dried? It doesn't allow me to sort of push that colour round. It just stays exactly as is, and that's because it's absorbed straight into the paper, whereas with the shimmer and the watercolour card it sits on the top. So again, if I try and spread that round, can you see it's a very different look? So if you have tried some watercolouring and you're not happy with the results, it could be that you're using the wrong paper underneath. Okay, so you can see, I know I was only just throwing it on there, but you can see the difference here between the two. So let me wipe these down like so I don't transfer strong ink anywhere. So I'll just wipe those down with my chamois, and I will empty this barrel as well when I've finished. So there's our Mango Melody one. Here is the one I started with. So this is the one on watercolour paper, and you can see when I was getting excited with my Mango Melody, I've spilled it over here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to fussy cut this. But what I'm going to try is to do a little bit of watercolour around the edge in a very pale blue, so that I can fussy cut a larger area. So let's give that a go. I'm going to use, from my subtles, I've got Balmy Blue, but I could use Pool Party, for example. And I do need to really clean this out. So excuse me a minute, because it's picked up some of the yellow and I don't want it green, I really want it blue. So excuse me while I just go and empty that out. Bear with me, hadn't planned to do that. Talk amongst yourselves. Right, apologies, I'm back now. Okay, so I've cleaned the barrel and added more water. I've remembered to bring a tissue with me this time. And so what I want to do is wet this and add a small amount of Balmy Blue. Okay, so you can see how wet that is. If it's too wet, just take some of it off at the side. So what I'm going to do is use this bit here to work on until I get it to the right sort of amount. And I'm just going to bring this in around the edge. Now this might not work, it might look really awful. But on the basis I've got bits of stray ink, I've got nothing to lose really, have I? So you can see what I'm doing. So this is one thing you do need to make sure when you're changing colours and things like that, is that your previous bit is nice and dry, so that it doesn't start bleeding into the other area. Oops. Carried away there. So I'm being careful to leave just a hint of a gap in between here, especially if you had a very strong colour that could easily just connect and then disappear off. Okay, the light's going, so I have to pull up my blinds. Hope that's still okay for you to see though. So what I might be able to do, rather than fussy cut this, potentially, is I might just tear it around the edges. Not decided yet. But you can see the effect that I'm going for, hopefully. Don't want it too wet for this little bit in here. That was where my extraneous colour was. There we go. So I'm thinking I could either tear around that or fussy cut it. You know, tear around it as a larger piece. What do you think? I'm just taking this out in case if I do tear it, I want the bigger sort of areas to play with, like so. I could, of course, cut that down as a smaller piece and use it on a smaller card. So, let me know what you think. Should I tear it or should I fussy cut it around this edge? I'm going to let you ponder on that while I make the other card up. Okay, so this is Mango Melody, so I'm just going to find a Mango Melody card. Hopefully. Probably be everything except Mango Melody. And I'm thinking possibly a layer of Pear Pizzazz in between the two, or Pear Pizzazz cards. Jeanette says tear. Right, let's have a look. So this is Pear Pizzazz. Let's move these out of the way. So I could do Pear Pizzazz onto the yellow. That's the wrong green. Or I could look for Old Olive, which is a bit darker, which I think might be better. Sorry, I need to keep you waiting while I'm choosing. So here's Olive, good old Olive. So I've got green onto yellow, or yellow onto green. Definitely green onto yellow in my mind, like so and so. Okay, let me do that. Okay, right, so here's my yellow base card. So I'm just going to score that at 10.5 centimetres along that long side, like so. Then I'm going to take the olive layer. So I think I said yesterday I always cut this directly as an A5 layer so that I know that that piece will make another card, and that goes in with my card blanks, and then I cut this one down. Obviously if I've got offcuts then I'll use that. So this is going to be 10 centimetres by 14.35. So that will be that layer, and then I'm going to cut this one down. And I think, so I've got this sort of bare corner, I'm going to chop this side off. So this will be 9.5 centimetres. And not much in it, but I think I'm going to take this edge off again because it's got a bare piece. I could obviously go back and stamp that a little bit if I wanted to, but I think you'd have had enough of me by then. So let's quickly pop this together. So that's going to go onto there. So making sure that's nice and clean. Put the top on that. So I'm going to use my seal for this. You do want to make sure you've got a sensible amount of glue on the back of anything that's watercoloured. So if I can put this on here, then I can decide which way round it's going to go onto my card. Like so. Make sure your hands are nice and clean before you do that. Okay. No, that's definitely favours that way round, doesn't it? In my mind. I could put that on with dimensionals. There we go. Like so. And if I've got a small sentiment, I could put it on there, or I could have a look in my little box for a small die cut. It really needs to be quite small, doesn't it? If I can't see anything to hand, that could possibly go. Or maybe just a thin piece might be better. I'm being indecisive today, and that's because it's Friday. Okay, so here's a piece of the Shimmer White. Slightly big for what I want. Oh, hold on. Oh, that says hello. That would do it, that sort of thing, wouldn't it? I know that's skewy. that's got marks on it. Dear dear. Sorry. That's long and thinner. Everything but R. That was sort of what I was looking for, something of that size. Sorry everybody. Because I don't want to cover up too much. So that would work probably up here. Okay, let's get rid of that hello because it is wonky. Okay, and let's have a look. So, are we going to be brave and just tear it? Jeanette just says tear, nobody else has commented. So, let's give it a go. Tearing. So, holding on the left hand side, moving it down on the right. And I can tear it, and then if it doesn't work I can also fussy cut it after. So it's a little bit close to the bottom. I got away with it. So this watercolour paper is quite thick. Like so. And what I'm thinking possibly would be to put it on a piece of the Forever Greenery paper, like so. See if I've got another piece. Oh, too much choice. I quite like that because that sort of mimics the other piece. Okay, so choice. One, quite like that with the blue because it is a bluey green. Two, because the green picks up here. Three, could go either way. Or four. What do you reckon? 1, 2, 3 or 4? Any suggestions? Just as a backing. I think maybe this is too bright. Number 1. It can be better to tear when wet, as long as it's not so wet that you make any of the ink run. You can also wet it slightly. I remember always doing mulberry paper years and years ago, and I used to wet the mulberry paper and then it used to tear really nicely. This is much thicker, so it doesn't tear quite as well, so either. So Jeanette says number 1, Brenda says number 4. Oh. So this one, or this one. So it's either picking up the green and matching the leaves, or it's picking out of the blue background. And I really can't decide. I'm going to put it onto a note card, so let me have a look with the white note card underneath. Then we can choose. I really mustn't make decisions on Friday, must I? Okay. So that's one. Let's do it up here, actually. And that's 2. Never thought you can change your mind. Oh, this one. That one. Makes more of a contrast, doesn't it, against the blue? I think that was number 4, wasn't it? Have I got that right? Without rewinding? Okay. Let's cut it down and have a look. So the size of the note card is 3.5 by 5. So I'm going to cut this to 3.25 by 4 3/4. One. Just so I've got a border all the way around. I'm right. Oh, good. I'm glad about that. Like that. That's better. Like so. Are we happy with that, do we think? Or I could put it onto a larger piece of card. Let me just trim this, tear this a little bit closer in. It's a bit dangerous, isn't it? I'll risk it. Now it's a bit straight now, doesn't it? Don't think there's much I can do about that. I could thread something round behind it, or bring this up and do that to hide this little mark in here. That works quite nicely. Yep, that's going to be my finished layout. Let me just see if I can find Forever Fern and use that hello on there. And then I'll find another one and do a hello. So let me just grab Melon Mambo, I think. Yep. And then we're done. Sorry, this has gone on a bit longer than I intended for a Friday. Let's just stamp it on a piece here. There we go. Yep. One. Let's lay that one down. Thank you, ladies, for helping me decide on that. So the next thing I've got to do straight from here, after having my coffee, is send out the email to everybody for our class in a box. I fully intended to have it sent this morning, and it didn't quite work to plan. So I'm going to pop this up with dimensionals. So watch out in your inboxes for our class in a box for September, which is all snowflakes and fun. So it's a Christmas one, as requested. October will be non-Christmas, and then I'll bring it forward, early November will be Christmas as well. Okay. Just going to put that down lightly. Perfect. So I'm going to put a dimension on the left hand side and a bit of blue on the right hand side so it attaches to that. I've got that the right way around. There we go. Perfect. There we are. So let's cover that little mark up nicely, like so. It's the bone fold on it, really. There we go, there's that one. And then this one is going to have another hello on it with a small label, so I'll need to die cut one of those out, I think, for some reason. Unless I use that with the thanks. Then that would be done, wouldn't it? Old Olive. Oh, thank you, Jeanette, no worries. Thanks for joining us. There we go. This Old Olive. Going to practice on this scrap piece here. Yep, that's perfect. It's a tiny hair. It's at the top. and it's amazing how much ink a single hair can carry. So let's give this one a go. So lots of light tapping to make sure it's nicely coated. Put that on there. There we go. Could put it right in the centre actually. Get away with that. So some dimensionals on the back and we're all done. Just before my battery disappears. Perfect timing. That's on my the one I'm watching, not the one I'm recorded on, so I won't lose you, hopefully. So what do we think? I'm thinking right in the middle because I don't want to cover up any of my flowers. There we go. That's it. All done and dusted. So 2 different lots of watercolouring. This is Shimmer White card. This is watercolour card. And the stamp set is called So Much Love. And the reason I featured this one this week is that you can buy it obviously on its own. It doesn't have any dies that go with it. But you can also get it for free along with another stamp set called Queen Anne's Lace and a pack of our rhinestones. You can get those for free if you join my team. And the joining offer for my team is the same at any time, which is £99, and you can choose £130 worth of product. And I would say obviously you get a discount after you join. All of your orders you're entitled to a discount, but what's more important is the community spirit we have as part of the team. So we're all crafters. Most of my team are crafters at home, so they're crafting for their own pleasure and for their families. Some of them might sell their cards, and some are running it as a business, and you can really do any of those things. All that we ask if you do join is that you're sharing the crafting. So whether you're showing people what to do or whether you're just sharing your finished cards with people, that's all that we ask. So if you're interested in that offer runs to the end of September. Just message me and we can have a one-to-one chat about it. There's absolutely no obligation. I won't put anybody under any pressure to join the team. But you can also buy the stamp set on its own separately for £19, so entirely up to you. Thanks so much for joining me today on Friday. If you're watching on catch up, thank you so much for watching me either on YouTube or on Facebook replay. I hope you have a nice weekend. If you've got any questions or queries, feel free to message me or just comment on this post and I'll get back to you. Thank you so much. Take care, look after yourselves, look after each other, and I hope you can keep crafting. Thank you. Bye bye.